Okay. Um, Today is Tuesday. It is 2:20 a.m. It is May 19th. A long time ago, I had a truck. Okay, I had a truck that that uh, that was given to me. I think it was given to me. I'm not sure. Was it given to me? I think it may have been given to me. It was a Datsun. Okay, it was a Datsun. It was a hand me down. Okay, and so I believe it was a hand me down. Yeah, I think it was a hand me down. Okay, so this Datsun was a two-wheel drive quarter ton truck. Okay, a pickup truck, and it was I believe it was orange. I believe it was orange, and it was parked in front of the house. And then one night it just disappeared. Okay, and so it was reported to the police. Okay, and then a few months later, it was found in a gorge, uh, past a little bit past Lucky Peak. Okay, reservoir, Lucky Peak Reservoir, and what happened was the truck was the truck was uh, driven into a gorge and people throw rocks at it and broke it down. Okay, somebody must have done that for some reason. Somebody must have done that for some reason. Maybe it was. I'm thinking maybe the only people who could have done that, because at that time I was in high school, and I may have upset somebody. And then these high school kids, uh, they don't know anything about the law. Okay, and so they'll take revenge on something that maybe I did or said or something, whatever it is, right? And so I think that's what happened, but they were never prosecuted, okay? Because we didn't know who it was, right? And so before that happened, uh, before that happened, um, uh, before that happened, I used to take that truck, okay, and go up to the mountains and pick up boulders. Okay, I used to pick up boulders, and sometimes and I would bring back a couple boulders. This when I was like 16, 17 years old. Okay, I think I was about 16 or 17 years old back then. So that was about 40 years ago. This is 40 years ago. All right, and so in the mountains there are boulders. Okay, now these boulders are deceptively heavy. Okay, they look light because I look at the size of it, and they look like I can pick it up. I can pick up these boulders. Okay, it looks like I can pick it up. Okay, it looks visibly that I can pick up this boulder. And then this one time, this boulder was I was trying to pick it up so that I can bring it back and then use it as decoration in the backyard. Okay, I was about 16 or 17 years old, and here I am. I was like straining, and I had it on my knee, like those, those people who are the what do you call it? The world's strongest men competition. They have these big, big boulders. I believe it was one of them was this that big. Okay, and these guys are like 300 to 400 pound people with muscles, and they're doing that. But I was only like a 150 pound, 150 pound, 50 pound guy. Okay, a high school student. Okay, and so I picked it up and I tried to put it up, and I actually did pick it up, but I heard a snapping on the back of my back. Okay, so because it was so heavy for me that I was putting so much stress on my vertebrae. I heard a snapping noise from the back on my vertebrae. Okay, luckily for me, luckily for me, the boulder was small enough for me to pick it up and put it there, and then drive it back. Okay, and then also just unloading it was easy. You just like drag it and drop it. Okay, but it was heavy. So what I did was I underestimated I underestimated the size of the boulder. Okay? I underestimated the size of the boulder. Okay? And now that I reflect on it, I'm like doing demo. Okay? I just blew a fresh challenge. I was up 1%. But I'm taking this. It's a couple things, but it is primarily because I'm still trying to make this thing work. And if I'm truly aware of how things are working, then I would be more careful and I would pass. Okay. But I did fail the previous one. Okay. But I was up 1%. I just got in. I started to get in. But uh, and now I'm on the second one. Now I'm currently down 1%. Okay, I'm down 1%. Right. So now, well, essentially a 10K account. Okay, on a demo. So then I thought to myself, the reason I thought about that big boulder is this. Okay, so usually what I do is I go along. Okay, I have a tendency to go along because I'm not comfortable with going short at this stage in my trading career. Okay, not there yet. But once I get to the point where I'm making steady money, then what I can afford to do is, I'm hoping that I can get an office here somewhere so that I can really dig into this because then I'm making money and I'm making strides and I'm making it work. Okay, so then I can devote more time to it and get things going. Okay. So then I thought about it as I started to lose, and I thought to myself, okay, so wait a minute. I'm using a stop loss and I'm putting it there, but I'm not really putting a weight into the stop loss, okay? Because there's a thought on the back of my mind. There's a couple of things that's running through my mind, which is some of these are very spiky. And what it would do is it'll just snap right back and then just go back right up. And so there's a little bit of hesitation to put the stop loss there because I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna snap, take it, and then right back go do its business, and I'll be out of a trade. The other part is I put it out there without fully comprehending the gravity of the situation, which is essentially going to the analogy of that boulder. Okay, the boulder that I put it into the pickup truck and then and bring it back. It's a boulder, right? And so what I've noticed is that I tend to underestimate everything in life. Okay, I don't overestimate. Okay, I rarely overestimate anything in life. Okay, I underestimate everything about life. Okay, that's called procrastination. Okay, I've seen that before. And so I've done that all my life. And what I get from that, if I overestimate, okay, if I overestimate about something, okay, generally speaking, if I overestimate something, generally speaking, like if I'm so this is a total transformation. This is a total recalibration about my life. Okay, I'm just getting goosebumps here. I'm just getting goosebumps. I'm being totally very very honest about what this current situation is. This is very very important. This is a totality of my total and absolute existence. Okay, this is my total and absolute existence. Okay, so generally speaking, in most cases, I underestimate what the situation is. Okay, just purely speaking, on a fundamental basis, I underestimate everything in life. That's how I have lived this life. Okay, I never. That's why it explains everything. It explains everything about my life. Okay, it explains about everything about my life, and that's why I haven't broken through even after 5.5 years. Okay, this is so incredibly important to me because I tend to underestimate everything. Okay, just like that giant boulder could have just snapped my back. Okay, so what I did was this. Okay, so my ex-wife was living in a house, and there were three trees, big trees. So the one in the middle, at the backyard, I wanted to chop it down. Okay, but so so I wanted to chop it down. So I had the chainsaw. Okay, an old chainsaw. The chain on it was like all like dull and stuff, and I had to go to the store. Okay, DMB hardware. Okay, and so I had them sharpen it. So when they sharpened it, they just sharpened everything off, and so there was no teeth at all. So I had to buy a couple of chains, and so then I was in the backyard, and my ex-wife and my kids were looking at what I was doing, and a thought popped into my mind. Okay, because I was about to chop it down. Okay, so I told them, you better go have some lunch because this tree might fall down. Because I obviously in my life, what I do is I underestimate everything about life. I underestimate everything in life. I have never see that's called procrastination. That's why people procrastinate. Okay, the foundation of procrastination is underestimation. Okay, so the foundation of procrastination is underestimation. Okay? The foundation of procrastination is underestimation. Okay? The foundation of procrastination is underestimation. Okay? That's why. The foundation of procrastination is underestimation. Let me make this clear one more time. And I sincerely appreciate Regis. Without them giving me the opportunity to sit here and then think about these things, Regis, I am so thankful. Okay? I thank you. I thank you for giving me this insight. You are giving me this insight by giving me this opportunity to be here in a temperature controlled environment where I have internet, okay, I have electricity, okay, and peace so that I can work on this. And I sincerely appreciate what you've done for me, okay? Now, if I have offended anybody here, just be kind to me because I'm a homeless man and I'm prone to errors of my ways, and I'll do my best to fix things, okay? So I realized this. Now it's like flipping through the pages. It's like flipping through the pages of my total existence. So that's why people go into a cave and they sit there and they think about their life to figure out, piece together these things. If they don't go into the cave and think about what they've done in their life to figure out what's going on, they'll never catch up to their thoughts, their total existence, because they'll slide through life without understanding what and who they are, right? This is just profound thinking for me. As I started to look at this, and it all stems from understanding what trading is, okay? It all stems from understanding what trading is. Because I just lost a demo challenge, okay? Because it was, the core reason is because I underestimated, okay? It's purely based on the underestimation, okay? Obviously, when I started on this journey, I underestimated how long it was going to take for me to figure this out. I also underestimated how knowledgeable Al Brooks is, and so I wasn't able to devote my attention to what he was talking about. And whatever he was talking about, I didn't put enough respect to his to information to put gravity into it so that I could understand it and devote more time to it and devote more attention to it, because I underestimated the significance of the content that he was teaching. Okay, so this is a prime example. Okay, so I would watch TV and time would fly. Okay, and it just never occurred to me. The thought never occurred to me, and I had this college report that I had to do. It's amazing to me how I graduated, okay? It's amazing to me how I have lived through life underestimating everything. I've underestimated everything. It's like this guy. There's a YouTube channel of this guy uh, who who is a gun expert. And so what he did was he had this vintage rifle, okay? And so it was a 50 caliber. I believe it was a 50 caliber rifle, but it was old. But he never really tested it out, okay? And so what he did was, and this is probably the first time ever that he actually encountered this situation with one of his firearms, like exploding before him. And so what he did was he loaded up the ammo and he pulled the trigger. And what it did was it exploded on him, right? And he had this. Apparently, one of the rifle parts, metal parts, just grazed his skull and then just dug into his face and dug into his chest, and he was a mess. Okay, because he underestimated the situation. Okay. And then so there was this guy on so there was this so when you look at Etienne Crete, okay? So this is a guy who owns his own company. Okay? He looks like a modest man, okay? He looks like a modest man, but he has people that he hires who are 50, 60 years old with decades of experience, okay? He's dressed in a t-shirt, and then he doesn't look like a genius, right? But when you look at him, you'll underestimate who he is, right? That's why Trump wears a suit everywhere he goes, because if he doesn't wear the suit, people won't recognize the stature he has, okay? That's why it does that. People tend to underestimate. I tend to underestimate. I underestimate the situation. That's why I got fired. That's why I could never. There's in memory, there's a thing called there's a bank of memory, and there's also main memory. And what the memory will do is during the process of manufacturing, when the parts are at a level of nanoscale, what it will do is the structure and contaminations will cause certain areas to be contaminated, because filtration, despite the fact that some of the air filtration is very very clean, like 1 in a million kind of thing, right? Particles. Chances of a particle getting into certain components are real, and it does happen. And so what the manufacturing process does, designed in, is to enter into something that it could replace the ones that's bad, and so it has an extra bend. But for me, I kept underestimating for the rest of my life, and I never devoted enough time, so I never learned about that. But I had the opportunity to learn. It never occurred to me. Okay, it never occurred to me. Okay. And so here I am in college, and then I have to write a report, which depends on the grade of whether I graduate or not. Okay, but I never devoted enough time to make it really work. So I never received a very good grade. I never received it. Okay, I never received a decent grade. Okay, that's why everybody else was getting good grades, but I was not getting good grades because I did not respect. I did not allocate enough uh, uh, overestimation of what the situation is. I never overestimated how long something was going to take. Okay, just like what's happening right there. Okay, so uh, I never uh, overestimated what could possibly be. Okay, so 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 in life, what happened was I kept I kept failing. Okay, I kept failing at things because I kept underestimating everything. I underestimate everything about life, and so it ties everything to my life. It is totally relevant to this life as I was like looking at this training. So what I would do is I would go. I remember this one time. Okay, I remember this one time because I was underestimating the situation that I was in. Okay, I was underestimating the situation. Okay, so I was underestimating the situation. Uh, Essentially, so I was essentially underestimating the situation. And so what I would do is, I remember this day. I don't know whether it was in Oregon or something. I was driving through a town, and it was a town in between a bigger towns, and I stopped at a small store, and I needed to drink something, so I had to buy a bottled water, and bottled water at the time was getting in fashion, and so I bought one. I paid money for it. Okay, I paid money for it, but I didn't look at the content of the water. Apparently, somebody decided to take that plastic bottle, go into the little creek, and then fill up with creek water and put it in the refrigerator, and I bought it. Okay, and when I drank it, I didn't even think about it because it never occurred to me that somebody might be mischievous and put some water in there. So I was sick. I was sick for a while. Okay, so I underestimated everything about life, and even in my marriage, I underestimated. I underestimated. Okay, I underestimated what it takes to be married. Okay, I underestimated everything. I also underestimated what it takes to take care of kids. Okay, I underestimated it. So my ex-wife had this book, Dr. Spock's child development, and she told me to read it. I just could not read it. I just could not read it because I was for all my life I was underestimating. I was always underestimating. I was always a fool. That's a fool. I was always a fool in life because I was always underestimating things. Okay, just like right here. Okay, just like these trades. And so the reason that I lose, I figured out why I keep losing the challenges. Okay? The reason I'm losing the challenge is because I'm underestimating the risk that I'm taking. Okay? So there's this Etienne Crete, and so he had this psychiatrist who is a trading psychiatrist, and he's being brutally honest about it. And he's explained about one of his experiences that he had while he was negotiating a hostage situation. Okay, and so he was brought in. Okay, and apparently one of them, one this scenario had a hostage negotiator talking to this person, but this it was in a military base, and apparently the military officer who was in charge told the psychiatrist, said, look, um, everything is under control. Whatever happens, we have everything under control. Your job is to negotiate this situation. So what he did was he estimated to a degree. So he overestimated to the degree of what could possibly happen. Okay? He overestimated what could possibly happen in a trade. Okay? That's what he did. Okay? He overestimated so that he doesn't make a mistake. Okay? That's what he did. All right? That's what he did. Trading, one way of overestimating is knowing that something will move. And if I trade small, I'm overestimating it. And it can be more if I spend more time on it and developing my setups and strategy. That's called overestimating, okay? But in life, what I do is I underestimate, okay? So what I noticed is this, okay? So I was fortunate enough that my Catholic church was so kind to me, and they thought that I was capable of handling a lot of things. But I was in a very, because I tend to like underestimate everything. And so while I was part of the being a church member of the Catholic Church, I had the opportunity to be a third degree knight, Knights of Columbus. Okay, but there has to be some devotion to it. There's a lot of time that's involved. It's charity. Okay, there's four things that happens when you're in Knights of Columbus. Okay, there's four things. Okay, first degree knight, second degree knight, third degree knight, and fourth degree knight, and you have to be practicing these things in order to be there. Okay, So the fourth degree knight is to be a patriotic person. You have to be. That's the part of being a Catholic knight. The third degree, I forget. I have to look it up. I owe it to myself because I'm still a member. Okay. 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 So let's see here. So there's charity, unity, and fraternity. Okay. Okay. So I underestimated how much I'm involved in doing that kind of thing, and I haven't been able to do that properly. Okay, I underestimated, or I haven't even thought about it. Okay, I haven't even thought about how I could be a better father. I haven't thought about how I can be a better husband. Okay, I underestimated it. Okay, I underestimated everything in life. Now here's the gotcha. Okay, here's a gotcha. Okay, the Bible is an incredible means of human record of everything. Okay, and so here's this guy. I believe his name was Benjamin or something, right? Or something like that, right? The guy who was sold to the slave. Okay, Joseph. Okay, his name was Joseph. Okay, his name was Joseph. Okay, he was sold. Okay, so Joseph underestimated his siblings. Okay, Joseph underestimated his siblings so that he never thought about the possibility of his siblings doing that to him. Okay? Because he underestimated what they could do to him. I underestimated my siblings of what they could do to me, and that's why I'm here. I underestimated it. I also underestimated what the law could do to me. I also underestimated what my lawyer could do to me, the criminal lawyer and the civil lawyer, because I underestimated what they were doing. The civil lawyer took all my money, so I underestimated what he was doing. The criminal lawyer worked with the other party to convict me of a felony of grand theft, so I underestimated him. I also underestimated, okay, what my siblings, the hatred and anger of that what they have. And so the only way for me to survive was to cut clear and separate myself away from them, okay? Because I underestimated what they would do to me, okay? I underestimated it. And this is a clear example of why for the past 5.5 years, okay? For the past 5.5 years, I underestimated. When the price moves against me, I kept underestimating the impact on my survivability of each one of those challenges. And I lost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And hundreds and even maybe 1,000 or 2,000 challenges because I underestimated. Because I underestimated the market. I underestimated the risk. Okay. So, uh, so, so essentially, the reason why in everything in life, this trading is teaching me about these things. Okay. And only through understanding what trading is, it is bringing into the light the shortcomings of my life. Okay. I underestimated. So I remember this. My ex-father-in-law, because my ex-wife told her father, okay, and that I was in Arizona. There was a house that we were in, and I was attempting to put a PVC pipe underground so that I could use an automatic sprinkler system. And so she told her father, who is far more experienced about those kind of things, because he's done this before, okay? And so she told me that her father told me to be liberal with the glue and the PVC because it's gonna just pop right off. Sure enough, I heard it, but I underestimated the gravity of the situation. So when I hooked it up and buried it 2 foot under, essentially, the pipes just burst as soon as I turned it on, right? So I underestimated everything, and this is what I'm doing, underestimating here. And even though I was underestimating these things, I just never realized it. It never occurred to me. It never occurred to me that these things are happening. Okay, even though it was taking things away from me. Okay, because my thinking, my consciousness was not. It was so focused on something else. Okay, it was totally focused on something else, and that's why I kept losing. Okay, so now right there, look at that. So essentially, what I have been doing, what I am doing, is underestimating the move that I'm seeing. Okay, and that's why look, I'm just losing again here. Okay, because I'm making a YouTube video and I'm seeing it. I'm in a trade. I put a huge lot in there. Of course, when it moves against me, it's going to do that, right? So I'm just like, my total existence has been underestimating everything. I underestimated everything because I'm not aware of the situation. So I keep underestimating everything about life. Okay? I will be sitting next to people who are the pillars of the church, and I'm saying things, but in reality, I'm just a little child. I'm just a little child amongst giants, the pillars of the community. Okay? And I'm sitting there thinking that I know something, but I really don't know. I read the Bible 9 times, straight from beginning to the end, okay, every word, but it doesn't matter. It's the same as like it's the same as like trading for 5.5 years, not improving at all. It's the same way. It's the same thing as like playing chess for 40 years and not learning anything at all. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. Okay, that's what's happening. It's the underestimation of whatever the situation is. Okay, so in most cases, I am a very lazy thinker. Okay, so essentially, procrastination is born of underestimating. Okay, underestimation is underestimation is born of procrastination. Okay, underestimation. Okay, procrastination is underestimation. Procrastination is underestimation. Okay, and for me, on this journey, I was about to say, well, everybody who's not profitable is underestimating things, which is true, but I'm not going to say that. Okay, somebody will call me a jerk for saying that. Okay, for me, on a personal level, and for me, what has been true is this: procrastination is underestimation. Procrastination is underestimation. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, it is the active engagement, whether I know it or not. Okay, most likely I am not aware of the consequences of what's going to happen, and therefore I am purposely underestimating the situation. Okay, and because I don't want to think about it, I'm essentially making myself ignorant to the situation. Procrastination is underestimation, and underestimation is a primary ingredient. So in a hamburger helper, the primary ingredient is the hamburger meat. In trading, underestimation is the primary reason that I'm blowing these challenges. Because if I overestimate, then I would have thought about these things, and it would be very similar to that hostage negotiation. And I would have thought about all the outcomes very seriously. Very, very seriously. And when I'm lifting that big boulder, which is what 300, 400-pound people lift, knowing the full gravity of that big stone, okay? And then knowing what the proper thing to do is the overestimation of a situation, okay? And so now this reminds me of that police officer who was out there. Okay, so wow, everything is making sense. Everything is tying together. Okay, God was helping me to understand all this. Because when a police officer, see, being a police officer is very dangerous. Being a police officer is very, very dangerous. It may come across being overly aggressive, but they have to, because they don't know who they're dealing with. And so somebody who's used to, like, oh, hi, hello, and all that stuff, and then run into that situation where they're being overly cautious, it looks like a very, very hostile situation. But they have to do that because they want to overestimate, not underestimate. So the only reason why a lion gets bitten by a green mamba is because the lion underestimated the situation. Okay? That's why. But somehow, it only takes one bite. And so it's hard to learn. And one bite is lethal. Okay? So it's difficult to learn about it. And so something must have triggered, something has to trigger. But when you're the king of the beast, okay? When you're the king of the beast, the only thing that scares you is probably, you're probably not even afraid of, it would be very difficult to be afraid of, except for maybe the elephant, right? That's what you'd be afraid of. If you're, see, I'm like, somebody must be very upset. Okay, somebody here? So is somebody hearing this? Am I upsetting people? Okay, I thought I'm the only person here at 3 o'clock. But this is very, very important. This is very, 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 very important. This is a movement. Wow. Okay, so in my estimation, as a trader, this topic is probably the most important thing. This is probably the gateway. This is probably the gateway transitioning from being a profitable trader, from being a non-profitable trader to becoming a profitable trader. Okay? Okay? So I mentioned about this giant door in Texas. Because everything is bigger in Texas. So it's a big door. Okay? It's a huge door. This huge door is a manifestation of estimation of the situation. Okay? It's the estimation of the situation. Because in most cases, the estimation of the situation is lacking. The reason why it's lacking is because it is the lack of understanding of the current situation. But understanding the current situation to the depth of overestimation requires experience. And I've noticed about, so apparently I saw one of these YouTube videos about this a professional trader, and she's explaining because she gets questions. She gets questions from people who are subscribers, and then one of the subscribers says, "Okay, how do I put a stop loss in there?" or something, some questions like that. And she says, "Well, you have to experience an excruciating amount of excruciating amount of pain and suffering, so that you don't do that anymore." Okay. So what that means is, unless that behavior is changed, the person is going to constantly underestimate the situation. Okay? The person is going to underestimate the situation, which means that it is going to be a prolonged pain and suffering for the past 5.5 years, which I have been doing. Okay? I have been doing that for the past 5.5 years. This is a aha moment for me. This explains away everything about my life and my total existence to this day. This is the reason why that I got fired. This is the reason why companies fired me. This is the reason why I wasn't able to learn something. This is the reason why my kids left me, because I never anticipated. I never thought about that. I never realized that they could ever do that to me. And this is the reason why my ex-wife left. This is the reason, because I was not putting on the forth. I was not putting enough. I was not putting enough effort into the situation for me to experience what underestimation, overestimation is. Okay. For me, I believe what's happening is this: all the people who are, all the people who are not profitable, they are underestimating the difficulties of trading. And they are constantly underestimating the difficulties of trading because they are essentially mired in emotion. Okay? That's why. That's why they're always losing, like I have been. Okay? And the only way to move to profitability is to overestimate every trade that I make, so that whatever happens, I'm in full control over whatever happens. And when I'm in control over whatever happens, then the chances of making a mistake, the chances of me breaching, the chances of me making these mistakes become smaller and smaller and smaller. So the United States government and the military entered into Iran and totally decimated the military. And the U.S. government proclaimed that it was a victory. That was apparently the U.S. has apparently like 100 days to wage some sort of military action without congressional hearing, and so that's what they did. But they underestimated, like in many cases, okay, the stronghold of the Iranian. I believe they're called IRGCs, right? And so they underestimated it, okay? So there's still some resistance there, which is causing the Strait of Hormuz to be blocked. So it's underestimation, okay? It's an underestimation, okay? And there's a lot of underestimation that's going on, right? So it's like Saul, who was chasing David. So Saul underestimated David, okay? Because David could have slain Saul so many times, but he didn't. Okay, so there's a lot of underestimation. So even Joseph, the siblings sold him to the slave trader, expecting that Joseph will never ever survive at all. Never ever survived at all. They were willing to murder their sibling, and they thought they successfully murdered their sibling, Joseph. They underestimated Joseph, okay? Just think about these siblings that I had, okay? So these siblings, what they do is, I was like 50 years old back then, okay? So I'm like 5.5 years into this felony, okay? And so what this felony is essentially, I can't even get a job as a janitor because this criminal record, everybody checks these days, and it's easy, it's cheap to check. Okay, and so essentially what they did was these two siblings destroyed my life. See, they took everything. They took all the money. They took all our parents' money, even though in civil court they brought in my mother, and in front of a judge she said everything is 1/3 each. But after 5.5 years, they haven't done anything. Okay, so they stole from me. Okay, and then they made the harshest harshest punishment that they can make, even though they're the ones. They lied, okay, to steal. They underestimated my survival. I could have been dead a long time ago. I was so distraught and so uh, I felt so betrayed. I was like, and the fact that my kids left, and that was like devastating. I was living in a homeless shelter, and even my own kids left. I was in like I was at rock bottom. I was like literally I mean like 90% of me was already dead. Okay, 90% of me literally was already dead. Okay? But time went by, and fortunately for me, I had a couple good friends. Fortunately for me, I had like the Catholic the people that I know at Catholic, even though I don't deserve it, okay? Even though I don't deserve it, they were kind enough to me. They were able to like they gave me a job, okay? So they underestimated my survivability, okay? They underestimated me, okay? They thought they thought I could never get back from here. They thought they thought they didn't think, okay, I'm so fortunate here. Okay, I'm here at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I'm here. If we're not this place, I don't know where I could be. This is very important to me. If I am to survive, I have to make this work. And if I am to survive and I have to make this work, I have to work on it 24/7, 365. I cannot be doing something else. So this is a perfect opportunity to work on this. And fortunate for me, there are things that are aligning that allows me to do this. So underestimated. They underestimated. They they buried me in their they buried me in their thoughts and their actions. They buried me. They buried me 6 feet under. Okay? They buried me, these two. They underestimated my survivability. I'm like, see, when you get a felony in America with a criminal, you can't get a job. Nobody hires you. You have to break the law to get hired. Okay? Because you have to tell lies. You have to say, hey, you have to tell lies. And the people who are hiring them, they're under some scrutiny because they're under scrutiny. Because they may be doing some government project or something, then you can't have people like myself working in there. So they have to be very careful about who they hire. And so it is virtually impossible. Even in construction, the people who are buying the building don't want people who have criminal records building it. Okay? Because because in society, what happens is that behavioral things occur constantly. Okay? And so it's a lifelong underestimation. So what I noticed I was like, what the common things about chopping down a tree is this, and it is this. I underestimated this one particular situation. Okay, so I put so much stress on my vertebrae. I'm just amazed that I'm still alive. That's why most people, what they do is in their teenage years, it's hard because they want to explore the limitations of their existence. So what they do is they do these crazy stunts thinking that they can do that. But just ask Daredevil, what's his name? Evil Knievel. I mean, or these motorcycle racers, high speed motorcycle racers. Their vertebrae are full of pins and rods because they broke them. But people don't understand it until God whispers into them physically that you are a mortal person, vulnerable person. Okay, and so before that occurs, you underestimate whatever the situation is you build until you build respect for whatever the situation is, and you get humbled. Okay, when you get humbled, then you realize what needs to occur. Okay, only then you realize. Only then you move towards overestimating whatever the situation is. And so I was like chopping down this tree, and this limb was right above over the roof. And so what I did was I tied a very very strong rope on each side. And so what I did was I chopped one side off, and then it was lighter, so I brought it back. But this one trunk of that was very heavy, and so when I cut it, it's gonna swing. Okay, but I was elevated on a ladder, and so I did not anticipate. I underestimated what the situation was because I did not fully comprehend how that arm was going to swing around. This was something that was like, even though it doesn't look good, it's like it's heavy as that boulder that I was trying to lift. This tree limb was fully waterlogged, which means that it probably weighed like 400 to 500 pounds. But I didn't realize it. But luckily for me, I had this rope that was strong enough to hold it swinging away from the roof. So when it swung off the roof, when I chainsawed it on the side, it swung off and knocked me off the. Luckily, the chainsaw was off. But when I fell on my back, and then my so I was like in pain. I could have been folded into two. Okay, because I underestimated how difficult, first of all, a tree trimming is. Okay, I underestimated how heavy that thing was. I underestimated what the situation is. I underestimated the danger of doing that. Okay, I could have just hired somebody to take care of it for a few bucks, but I did that because I underestimated the situation. Underestimated this, and I'm making. I, this is probably something that's going to really elevate me to fully respect and then move towards being over respecting what trading is. Because when I underestimate what I do, I don't realize it, even though the danger is there. So I would put in a trade, I will put the lot size in there, but I won't see it and feel it until it fully moves away from me. But when it fully moves away from me, it's too late because I haven't anticipated the movement of how much impact that has on that trade. And so every time I would lose because it would get to that point and I would say to myself, it's too late. I can't do anything about it. And by that time occurs, 5.5 years have passed. Thousands, and every penny that I made, thousands, tens of $1,000s is gone. Okay? Right? So for me, I realize today, and I see that. I see why I did that because I was constantly underestimating things. I'm underestimating. What I thought was a proper trade is essentially an underestimation. Okay? When it's moving against me and when I put some size in, that is an underestimation of what I'm doing. When I look at it and I see whatever is left over after a bad trade is an underestimation that is psychologically impairing my judgment. When I'm trading like this, it is psychologically impairing my judgment. That's why emotion is causing a underestimation of the current situation. Okay? Because it creates a fog, a veil over the situation so that I am unable to see. Okay? That is why for the past 5.5 years I'm thinking I can do this. But I can't do that with what I have. Okay? Because I'm constantly underestimating the situation. I'm constantly underestimating it. It has been like this. So when something is going down like this, I'm saying to myself, okay, so it's going to go up. That's an underestimation. I'm underestimating the trend, the strength of the trend, and I always lose. I'm underestimating it. And when I get into it, I lose. And the way that I put the size in there, I'm underestimating the situation. Okay? That's why I'm losing. Everyone, this is like mind-boggling. I'm underestimating the strength of that trend. I'm underestimating the current situation, the size of the current risk. I'm underestimating the strength of whatever the thesis that I have. Okay? It may be very small, but my conviction is very high because I'm underestimating it. I may be overestimating the strength of it. Okay? Which means that I'm underestimating what the current situation is. Okay? That's what's happening. Okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I pray it's okay because this is critical for me in understanding what's really going on. Okay, I've underestimated Al Brooks. I thought I could figure this out. I'm saying to myself, oh look, it's been like over 2 years, 3 years, and I still don't understand it because I'm still underestimating what he's teaching, right? It seems like such a simple thing, but it's very, very difficult. Okay? Man, I feel like somebody's gonna fire me. So I feel like somebody's gonna kick me out. Okay? I feel like somebody's gonna come over here and just pick me up and toss me out and say, "Get out of here." All my life, I've underestimated everything. I've underestimated everything. I've never been an A student, so I'm probably underestimating how smart my son is. I'm probably underestimating how smart my daughter is. Because even though I was 25, 26 years old, I wasn't conscious of who I was. And therefore, I'm probably underestimating them. Most definitively, I've underestimated my ex-wife. Okay, I underestimated my ex-wife. Okay, I underestimated how difficult this is in trading. I underestimated it. I underestimated every trade that I make. I'm underestimating it, thinking the reason why I'm breaching these challenges is because I'm underestimating the situation. I'm overestimating my skill. That's what I've been doing. I've been overestimating my skill. Okay? Because I'm overestimating, I'm underestimating the market. Okay, I'm underestimating the market, and that's why so when I size too big, it means that I'm underestimating the move. Okay? So in order for me to trade properly, I have to overestimate. Not me. I have to overestimate the current situation. Okay? I have to underestimate myself. I have to always underestimate myself. And I have to overestimate what the current thing is. Okay? What the current market condition is. When I have this risk on, I have to make sure that I'm properly estimating the current situation instead of overestimating it. See, so here's what happens. Let's say I enter into trade and I put a stop loss there. And if the stop loss doesn't make any sense, I'm overestimating the current situation. Okay? Because I'm saying to myself, okay, I made the right decision and it's going to go that way. And chances are it's not going to go the other way. And I will never find out whether my stop loss is legitimate or not. Okay? I cannot underestimate the stop loss. Because it is liable to break my back. What is it called? Something called camel's back or something? What is that? What is it? Ah, straw that broke the camel's back. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh, and in this movie called Office Space, whatever his name is, okay, what's his name? What's his name? What is his name? Let's see. Let's figure out what his name is. Leonard? Is it Leonard? It's not Leonard. Milton. It's Milton. Okay? So what Milton does is like he was fired, but he was still collecting paychecks. And then the employment efficiency team came over and asked, why is this guy still on a payroll even though he was fired? And so the manager incrementally moves into an area, and then finally, so he moves him to the basement, and then finally cuts off his paycheck, and then and then and then and then takes his stapler, takes his red stapler, and then Milton says, "Okay, that's the last straw." Okay, and then he burns down the rest. He burns down the company, right? And then burns the evidence from these people who stole money from the company, right? Wow. See, I have been such a fool, and nobody would tell me that I'm such a fool. Nobody. Not even a psychiatrist. Not even a psychiatrist would tell me that I'm a fool, right? So but there is this one man, okay? There's this one man. I'm very fortunate that I met this man, okay? I met this man, which changed the whole course of my life. Which changed the so it's like in life there are forks in the road, okay? But that fork is essentially one way is very difficult to go to, okay? Just like that, the road less traveled. So in life, there's a path that I take which veers into an area where I am ignorant to a world where a total change in my existence occurs. Okay, it is it is it is deviating. Okay, it is deviating, and it is steering myself into a direction where a concept of self-sacrifice occurs. In many cases, people will live through life without knowing something called self-sacrifice. And they'll live throughout the rest of our life without knowing what that is. But in many cases, mothers know what self-sacrifice is. On YouTube, there is a mama bear with two baby cubs. And so what and in many instances occurs is a big male bear will come and kill those cubs to bring the female into to estrogen or in heat so that he could mate with the female bear. Okay, that's his purpose. Okay, and the reason why the mama bear, even though the mama bear is half the size, is so for fearsome is because mama bear is knows something called self-sacrifice to protect something else. But the male bear has no idea what that is. Okay? Because it is driven by the need, the nature's call to procreate, the harsh reality of life. And in essence, that's what humanity in mankind does. Okay? That's what happens to mankind. But there is this being called Jesus Christ who has this understanding of self-sacrifice, being fully conscious of that concept. Okay? And then understanding that is a fork in the road that transfers this, whoever it is, to move in that direction to a greater elevation of human existence. So I was fortunate enough, God was so fortunate enough that after being fired from so many companies, I had the opportunity to meet a pastor who 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 essentially was that point, at the point where these two cue balls meet. And then he was that cue ball that launched me into this total different understanding of God in my life, right? Okay. In the past, I knew God superficially, but he was the one who made it personal for me. And I am so fortunate. I am so fortunate. And then I was able to I was able to take that road. And then here I am. Okay. Now, why am I mentioning that? Okay, so in reality, it's an underestimation. I underestimate everything. Okay, I underestimated the importance of God. Okay, and that's why it took me so much time to grasp onto the significance of His existence in my life. Right, and so in trading, what I've noticed is it's been occurring like all the time, but it just never occurred to me. It's been occurring. It has been occurring, but I never. So whenever I take a trade, I place a trade here, and it would move against me, but I never fully appreciated or estimated the possibility of moving against me. I underestimated the trades that I was taking, the significance, the money that I was spending. Underestimated. I keep underestimating the market, right? I keep underestimating the market, and that's why I keep losing. If I'm overestimating, I wouldn't be losing. Okay, if I overestimate the market, I have a better chance of winning. But if I'm underestimating the market, then I always lose. That's what I'm doing. I'm underestimating the market. I constantly underestimate the market, and that's why I'm losing. It's simple as that. It's plain as day. Okay? The reason why it's like so procrastination is underestimation of whatever the situation is. Because I am not considering the time and effort that's required in order to get something done. But if I overestimate, then I'll get A's because I'm overestimating the situation. And so I am able to devote my time and energy to something enough so that I'm able to gauge what I'm capable of. And then I'm taking that along with the effort and energy into it to make something work. That is matching up the estimation that I need in order to make something work. So transitioning into profitability is knowing the difference between underestimation and overestimation. I heard who is it? Now there's a golfer, VJ Singh. I believe his name is VJ Singh. He's a famous golfer. I'm not sure if he's an American or not. Okay, let's see. Oh, he's from Fiji. Okay, he's Fijian. He's not an American. Okay, he's a Fijian, and so apparently as part of his routine, he would be in the driving range, and he would like drive thousands and thousands and thousands of times because 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 he is estimating the competition and the course properly in order for him to perform well. If he is underestimating the amount of competition and the golf course, he would be drinking beer, sitting around, and doing nothing before the tournament occurs because he will be underestimating the situation. In order to properly estimate the situation, he has to prepare himself to a level where he fits and excels in the event of golf. Okay, that's why. So it occurred to me. Uh, I have been underestimating. I have been underestimating life all my life, and trading has brought into light because it was constantly helping me to fail. It was constantly helping me to fail. That's why when I'm sitting here and I'm trading and I would get to the same, see, I was underestimating the last 1%. I was underestimating it. So even though I was at 6% or 7%, I underestimated the situation. So I didn't take it seriously because I was underestimating the challenges of trading. That's why I lost. Even though I was at 7%. It was like the whole world was carrying me. Okay? The whole world was carrying me to the throne. Okay? But I underestimated it. Okay? And then I just botched it up, even though it's very, very simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. Okay? All I have to do is pass phase one, pass phase two, get two payouts, two payouts from the 10K. That two payouts will pay for the 50K. Pass the 50K phase one, pass the phase two, and then get two payouts from the 50K. So okay, when I achieve that, then the whole world is my oyster. It means that I've constructed a bank called Kiso. That means that I have enough money to finally fix up my car. It means finally I am able to maybe upgrade to an office so that when I talk like this, I'm not being intrusive to other people, okay? Fine individuals. Okay? These fine individuals, they may just take these papers from me, but and steal it, but I mean I have no problem with it, okay? I have no problem with it. Okay, they can do that. It's all good. All right? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, okay? I hope they used it for a good purpose, okay? So what I've noticed about this is that the reason that I keep losing is because I'm underestimating the current situation. Here I am, I'm going to the mountains with a quarter-ton pickup truck, and then I'm picking up this boulder that normally is picked up by these world's strongest men in competition, right? And they're picking it up like that, right? And I don't even have the technique of picking it up, and the only thing this frail backbone that I have is like twisting and mallee and things like that, right? So here I am, like I was like chopping down this tree from my ex-wife's house, and this trunk just knocked me to the side, and I fell, and then I was in so much pain. So I went to this little corner uh, medical place, and one of the, I don't know if they're doctors or something, I don't know, and so they took an X-ray and says, hey, your back uh, disc has been pinched. Okay, all right. Luckily for me, I mean, thank God. Okay, if I had problems with the back, I mean, it would be excruciating. But fortunately for me, I've survived it, and I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm very, very lucky. Okay, I've underestimated everything in life. I've underestimated the difficulty of life. I did. I've underestimated everything in life. I did. I, I underestimated everything in life. Okay? I underestimated everything in life. I did. I did. I don't know why, but I did. I underestimated the difficulty. So it's like this. So my kids were here, and we decided to float down the Boise River, and I underestimated the complexity of it. And so when a bright idea came to like go underneath the tree, I wasn't fast enough to like move away from it. So I underestimated the situation. Okay, so I fell off, and I was almost drowned to death. Okay, fortunately I was able to make it back. They floated down safely. Okay, so essentially, I understand. I understand. I underestimated everything in life. I underestimated everything in life. It's a fact. It's the truth. I underestimated everything about life, and that's why I'm losing. That's why I underestimated. I underestimated. I underestimated the stop loss. I underestimated the significance of a stop loss. That's why I've been losing all this time. And nobody's going to tell me that. I so it's amazing to me how I could live through life and nobody would tell me this. Nobody would tell me this. Nobody would tell me about what law is either, right? Nobody says to me, look, nobody says that. Nobody says like you are guilty until proven innocent. People just say, hey, they have this thing saying that okay, so you are innocent until you're proven guilty. But in reality, that's not true. From my experience, the way law works, it's not just once, but multiple times. It happens. Okay? So during my divorce, okay, so my ex-wife had a lawyer. I just didn't show up. Okay? I wanted her to take care of everything. Okay? Whatever was satisfactory to her, she can have. But unfortunately, when the court hearing proceeded and divorce was finalized, I mean, her lawyer made it such that it was impossible for me to live. Okay? Because they were taking all the money. I wasn't there to figure out what to do and negotiate because I was in like emotional trauma. There was no way for me to. I literally I was like, see for me on a personal level, I've gone through it. Okay, I didn't even know how to estimate what the situation is because it was so traumatic. It was so traumatic because I had a singular objective in mind. Okay, is to have those kids, raise them up, and live a normal life. That's what I had in my mindset. But it takes two people to do that. I never realized that she didn't see it that way. Because she saw something different. Okay, she expected something different that I was not able to provide. And it was devastating. Okay? And so for many years it was like a Mack truck had run me over. Okay? And I was like walking around, even though I was functioning in a certain way, but I was vacant. Okay, my mind was like, it's like being like struck by a semi. Okay. So usually when a trade goes against me, it goes against me. But if I were to survive that, then what will happen is that usually my thesis will turn out to be good. And so when I take that trade, once that happens, then the gains will exceed the losses that I have, as long as I'm trading small. When I'm trading small, I can survive it because I'm overestimating the risk that's involved, so that I can keep myself safe in the situation. Okay? But once I underestimate the ferocity of the current trade moving against me, then I lose. Okay? If I do max size, I'm exactly and precisely falling into trap of the market. Okay? That's how it takes it away from me, right? It's like I don't know how to put I don't know how else I can put it. It's like all my life I've underestimated everything. Maybe because I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. So I was part of this. There was this church, and a couple of street kids that I had were part of it, and so I was part of that. And so we were carving out these wooden cars, and so one of the moderators looked at me and goes, you always behave like you always behave dumber than you really are. That's what he said. You always behave dumber than you are. Okay? That's procrastination. That's underestimation. I'm underestimating everything. And so when I underestimate everything, I'm taking that situation to be very dumb. And so I am dumb. At every situation, I am dumb. It's like if I'm seated in a poker table around and then you're looking for the fish, I am the fish because I'm underestimating the situation. I'm underestimating the situation. You got these poker players who are they look normal, right? They look normal, but in their brain they have years of experience. They're sharks. But I'm sitting there thinking that I could take their money. Wow, I don't know how to call this, but this is probably the this is very, very important. This is the point where I become conscious of what risk is. This is the day that I finally became conscious of risk. This is the day where I finally realized. Uh, so it's like it's like underestimation of risk. In simple terms, it's an underestimation of my existence. Okay, in life, all my life I have underestimated my existence.